cms.colorado.gov. So again, thank you so much for being here, and let's just go ahead and get started. Alrighty, so sorry, I have more people coming in, and Brian is out of office today, so I'm going to be running the chat and also admitting people to the space, so thank you so much. As per usual, if you have questions, please populate those questions into the chat, or you can also raise your virtual hand. So make sure that you ask questions and I will get to those, and I'll make sure that there are pauses throughout our conversation to go and address those questions in the chat. Alrighty, so little bit of housekeeping. cms.colorado.gov is updated on regular basis. You will see different information there. We have an accessibility statement there for you to review. I will share that with you. In addition to that, yes, the session will be recorded and then made available on cms.colorado.gov. And we just ask that we take space and make space. But please feel free to share your feedback, ask questions. I think this will be valuable if you guys are engaging. So please feel free to have that conversation as needed. And then we have some statements that we have. I'm not going to cover those today because we have covered these in the past, but should you have any questions, do let me know. And then to our agenda, these are the things that we hope to cover. But again, this is your session. So if there are items that you would like for us to cover, please let me know. I'm going to try to moderate to keep an eye on the chat as we go through this because we're a little bit down staff-wise today because it is spring break, that type of deal. So again, we're going to go ahead and see how we authenticate. That did change a little bit. We're going to visit your menus. We're going to create content. And we're going to then explore the media library. Some questions came through the partner support about redirects. So I'm just going to poll the team. If you need for me to show you redirects, that is something that we could cover today. Just let me know if that is something you want to see. So feel free to put that feedback in the chat, and I'm going to mute your microphones to prevent any feedback. Alrighty, so let's just go ahead and get started. This is our site. It is cms.colorado.gov. A piece of feedback that came to us is that when I do these demos, I do them signed up as an administrator. So for this particular session, I'm signing in as a demo user, which is a structure and a content administrator. This will then present additional features or a different view for what is more accurate for what your experience is with the platform. Okay, so here at the top, you will see that the word masqueraded is there. That is an admin feature, and I am currently logged in as the demo user. From here, I have the ability to unmasquerade, but then in my avatar state, I could go ahead and check in my profile, make some edits there. And also, if I click on manage, that is where I will have the modules that are assigned to me, and they will display the different features that are available to me as a content administrator and a structure administrator. Again, this is just to make this experience more like what you see on a daily basis. So again, at the top, we no longer have the Acquia drop logo. In the past, we used to have the little drop of water. That was our visual indicator that we were logged in. In this version, Drupal 10, we do not have that option, but we can click on your avatar and it will present the same option. So if I click on the demo user, it will show view my profile, edit, or log out. So that is a visual difference from what we had in Drupal 9. Okay, now if I click on manage, then the modules that I have access will present themselves. Again, we could do a walkthrough through the different features if this is of value to you. One thing that I want to invite you to do is to explore the new content that has been added. It is all regarding accessibility. Just at first glance, this is what it looked like. You could just go ahead and visit the different pages. And if you have any questions, please send those through partner support. But again, this is regarding accessibility. So if you have any questions, this is the place we want for you to go so that you can get the information that you need. Okay, but again, what we want to do is to click, tap, or select on content. This will give you access to your media library. And in the media library, you would notice that you have the tabs at the top, kind of like little folders, right? The default on the media library happens to be content. And these are basically the items that are native to the site, the things that you can build, like your articles, your events, your contacts, basic pages, layouts, and any other content type that will be native to the site. In order for you to add a piece of content, you will click, tap, or select this pill menu that reads Add Content. Okay, so I will click, tap, or select right here, and then all of the content types that are available to us will be displayed here. Now, as we continue to grow Drupal 10 and add different features and different content types, this is where you will find all of those content types. Okay, so for the example, we're going to start with the basic page so that I can show you where rows and cards. And again, if this is something that we want to gloss over, that's fine, but I do know that there are different participants in the class today that might benefit. Not on the class, on the session today that could benefit from this. So if you tap, click, or select the basic page, this is by far the most popular content type that we have from the rows and cards experience. Here, I'm just going to say sample basic page. And I have to give it a date because I have used this 100 times and I'm running out of iterations here. So I'm going to say 27 March. And I will go and find it so I could delete it. So here you would notice that in the basic page, the only required field is the title. And there is a correlation between the data that is entered in the title field and the URL that is populated later on. However, if you wanted to change the default, you could deselect the option to generate the URL alias automatically. Okay, so at the moment, you know that you would see at the very top that this is a node. It is only showing node. Since nothing has been saved, it hasn't assigned it a node ID or a node number. So right now it is just a node in an edit state, right? Once I hit save, one of two things will happen. The first thing that could happen is that I do not deselect the default generation of URL aliases, and it would just pull the data from the title field into my URL. If I deselect that generate automatic URL function, then I have the freedom to add whatever my URL will look like. So those are your two options. At the moment, I'm just going to keep the generate so that you can see when I save this page, the change on the URL bar. So at this moment, since the only required field is the basic page, and I am keeping the generation of aliases selected because it is the default, I will then make a decision if this content is ready to be viewed by consumers, by our end users, or if I still want to keep it in a moderation state. Now, if I select save, it will keep the moderation state in draft. There is a visual indicator when a content type is in a draft state. It has a pink background, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like right now. This pink background indicates that the moderation state is not published. Now, you do have some options. You could continue to work on your page while it's on a draft state, and then later on at a different date after it has been approved or you are ready for it to be consumed by our end user, then you could change it to publish. But if I am not ready to publish it, I could just go back into this ribbon and select edit and continue editing. You would notice now that the node has been assigned here. So from being a node that wasn't saved, now there is a node ID. And this is important. I had a meeting with our director of design, and he was trying to facilitate conversations about redirects and how when we are making a redirect, the preferred way is to use the node as opposed to the URLs, because those could change if we decide to change the URL aliases. So the reason I am talking about this today is because we had about 4 cases in the partner support queue that were specific to redirects. So I thought it will be valuable for us to understand the relationship to the node and those aliases that we add for forward-facing navigation. So I hope this makes sense. This is how it looks right now. You notice that it will have sample basic page March 27th as the URL. And when this is viewed by the end user, that is the URL that is going to show. All right, so far so good. If you have any questions, make sure you put those in the chat and I will get to those. As needed, if you have any comments or feedback about this, just let me know and I'm happy to stop. I want this to be of value to you. Now, again, we did not, rows and cards are still present. There is no question, they're still going to be there. In order for you to access your rows and cards, you want to go to your secondary menu and you want to click on that tab right there for rows and cards. So once you are in rows and cards, you have the ability to format a row, and onto that row, then you can add these no-code cards that will allow you to display different pieces of content. So for instance, if I am exploring my rows, there are a variety of different rows that we could leverage, including an accordion row. We also have the ability to have a hero row that allows you an opportunity to have a display of content with an image on the back. If you have further questions about this, I am very happy to walk you through the process. But for the example, we're just going to do an equal column row. Now, when it talks about equal, that is referring to the distribution of the cards as they relate to the row. In this particular case, we're not going to mess with the distribution. We're just going to do equal, and they're just going to float equally. What that means is that if I have one card, it will take the entire width of my display, tablet, mobile, or desktop. If I decide to do two cards, those two cards will float 50% each. If I select an uneven, I have the opportunity to leverage 1/3, 2/3, or any other variations that are available to display content. And if you have further questions, I could definitely stop and show you. But what I wanted to point out is that the background colors are still here. The entire palette is there. And you can also play with the width of the row and apply a border if you have a use case for this. So if you wanted to some content to pop out, you have a few options that you can leverage to format the row. I'm not going to apply any of these. I'm just going to say sample title. And then what I'm going to do is I am going to add a row. Okay, now I'm sorry, I'm going to add a card. This row already has its title, sample title. The next step is to determine which cards I want to use to display the content. And we have a long list of cards that you could utilize. For the example, we're just going to use an open embed so that I could show this, because we did have some questions about loading content to the site. So what I have done is that I have gone over to our YouTube page, and this is a video that we have about the previous training. And I'm just going to show you how this looks. When you are, and this will be slightly different based on the different streaming service that you have, but I think since YouTube is Google and a lot of government is a Google enterprise, you have access to this as a streaming service. If you have a different one, I'm happy to show you how to do that. But for the most part, if people are leveraging YouTube for your board meetings or training content, you could capture the embed here and the iframe. You just copy it, and what you want to do is go back to the page that you are actually editing, and you want to drop that content right here in the open embed box. Now I'm going to scroll to the bottom, and I am going to make this page publish so that you can see two things. The pink background is now removed. This page is it's searchable. It is ready for prime time. Everybody could see this. So if I had any typos, I could go and change those in real time. When I make an edit to a public page or to a page that is already existing, there is a 15-minute cache maturity. So you would need to just clear your caches so that you can view the content in real time. Okay, so this is basically a sample title for a row that we did not format. We chose not to add any format to this. The one thing we did is that we selected an open embed card, and onto that open embed card, I inserted an iframe for the video that we had last time. Does that make sense? Is that helpful? All right. The next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to look for this particular content in the media library. So again, I'm just going to duplicate the display so that I could just click, tap, or select on the content. And you would notice that in the table, the most recently updated content is floating to the top because that is the default sort for the media library. However, this is a table. and you can sort this however is useful to you. If you're a website that has thousands of pages, it might be useful to use the parameters at the top of your media library to further narrow down your results and then sort those in the table view at the bottom. So that you could just, it depends if you have 7,000 pages, like some of our larger agencies, you may want to sort, and you could sort by a few different categories. You could sort it by the content type. You could just sort it by the publication status. You can also enter the operator and it will sort all of your materials, all of your items once you hit the filter, because you're just using filtering parameters. So all of the content that I have added to the site will be here. And this is for creation, not for edit. Alrighty. Now, when I am in the media library, which is in the content module, this first tab is where I can add new pieces of content, but say that I wanted to make changes to a content type that was edited by someone else. I could use the title field to further narrow down my search, because this is a long list of things that this particular user has added. So what I could do is further narrow it down. And when it comes to editing, I have two options. I can edit from the media library by going to the very far right and clicking on the operations, different options on this menu. So under operations, I have the ability to clone, delete, or edit. That's when I caret down, okay? But the default function is to edit. So when I am in the media library, I can edit my content by selecting the edit function, and it will take me to the back end where you're going to see your rows and your cards. Excuse me. The other option, I'm going to use back in my environment to take me back into the media library. It is a redundancy. It will take you to the web view, which is this one here. I could just click on these release notes, and from here, I could choose to edit. Okay, so those are the two ways that we can edit content. I know that a lot of people prefer to do the web view because they're already on a page and they want to edit the same page. However, if you are in the media library, you can still go that way and edit from the media library. Okay, we're at 10:19. Are we good so far? Okay, moving right along. Thank you, Danielle. I see your little thumbs up. Thank you so much. Alrighty, so a few things that I wanted to point out is that the CK editor that we had in Drupal 9 was the CK editor 4. And I know that some of the people on the meeting today are first time attendees or recent attendees. With the Drupal 10 upgrade, the CK editor that is present is the CK editor 5. And the CK editor, different from CK editor 4, is core to Drupal, meaning that there's a group of developers at Drupal.org that are managing and continuing to iterate and add features and functionalities to the CK editor 5 as it is displayed in the Drupal 10.1.8 that we currently have. And this long description goes to say that a lot of the features that we had developed in Drupal 9 with the CK Editor 4 might look different or may not even be present in CK Editor 5. We have feedback from the community of users that have spoken to us about the things that they want to see. And one of the things that we were able to incorporate was the linking and the styles of links. So for that, I'm going to go back to the page that we just looked at. This is that sample page that we just created together. I am going to click edit. I'm going to go to rows and cards, and I'm going to show you I'm going to just show you edit right here. This is the open embed card right there. Now, if I wanted to add additional content and just have it float equally, I could just click, tap, or select on the basic card where I'm going to show you this function of wrapping a link to show and display as a button. So I'm just gonna, you could add whatever your anchor text would be. So I'm just gonna say sample text here. And then first step is to create the link. So I'm gonna highlight or select the anchor text. Then I'm gonna, not sure that you can see it, but this is like a little chain link. I'm gonna click, tap, or select on the link feature, and then I'm gonna start to search. So if I wanted to search for the platform release notes, all of the content types are going to be alphabetical sort to the top. But if I also had some documents that had that particular keyword, they would show at the bottom. So another thing, if you're searching for your items, as they are in the media library, scroll all the way to the bottom because the sort is alphabetical, content first, and then your files will show. Okay. So again, for this one, I'm just going to link to this content type. And there, let me just select this again. It did not take. Let us say, I'm going to go ahead and mute your microphones because I feel like I have a little bit of background. I do apologize about that. Alrighty, thank you so much. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to point to the node. And this was that part that I was talking to Barry, our director of design. He's on the call today about making those redirects, and that the true fingerprint of an item is its node ID. So this node ID is the one for that particular piece of content that I have titled Platform Accessibility. So when I select this, I have the ability to leverage these three options. And it's just a toggle for the open and new window. So it's not a box to check. It's not something to select. You just toggle and it will take there. And it has a visual, a color indicator, the green, your toggle is activated. And at this point, I could save this link. Now, if I hover over the text, it will tell you that this particular link doesn't have the URL, but we know that this is linking to the node. One thing that I want to do with this is that I want to select the anchor text. And now you will notice that on the top of my CK Editor 5, the styles feature is activated. Now I'm going to click away from it so that you see that it is what we call grayed out. When I select the text, it is now a feature that is present for this particular anchor text. And I'm going to select, and I'm going to use success. And I applied that. Now I'm going to scroll to the bottom and make sure that I save. Because I don't want to waste, you're working for 5-6 minutes, making an edit, and you forget to change to save, and that is kind of painful. But here we have the link that has been wrapped and styled as a button. And when you hover, that is what the button styling looks like. Now, you will notice that the image, not the image, but the video actually is now taking half of the amount that is on this particular display. If I had a mobile device, those would be top to bottom as you will read a book left to right. I'm hoping that makes sense. But on your desktop, it will display left to right, and on mobile, it just goes vertically top to bottom. All right. Alrighty, so this is all things that we wanted to just make sure we covered. We know what the node is. The node is different from the URL alias. We have created a basic page. Now we know how to go into the content media library and find the page. By default, it's going to be the most recently updated. The one thing we want to do is make sure that we add a layout so that you guys can see what layouts look like. And that is one of the options that are available when you tap, click, or select the add content option. These are your options. And again, here, the title is the required field. Let's just say this is another layout. On the layout, just like with the other content types, you have the ability to leverage a featured image. Featured image, we'll talk about the cropping of those images in 2 seconds. But I just wanted to go really quickly and show you some things here. Remember, we spoke about that URL alias. It would generate automatically populating the data from the title field unless you deselect this option. Okay. Additionally, and this is by far my biggest takeaway, the biggest difference between the layouts and the like the sections and blocks content types as it compares to the paragraphs ones is that the default moderation state is published. So we do have a draft moderation state in the layout content types, but you need to click away from it here at the bottom. The default is published. I want for you to always just deselect this. And then here you have a preview. The preview will still be the same that we had in our Drupal 9 and Drupal 8 and Drupal 7 experience. It's the same. If I keep the page in draft, it will give me that pink background, my visual indicator that this is still not ready for prime time. And at this moment, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to add sample sample text right here, and I am going to save my page in the draft moderation state. And then it will present me with the option of changing, making any edits, and I could do that by just clicking on edit to handle that basic body that we had, or I could just go and start some layout here. So this new tab is going to allow me to add sections to the page, and onto that section, I can add blocks. Same thing that we did in rows and cards. We formatted a row and then we added no code pre-formatted cards. Now we're going to add sections, and to those sections, we're going to add blocks. So again, this is going to be more intuitive the more you go and play with it. These are little placeholders that we could easily remove. There's a placeholder for links at the top that our devs had put in there. If this is not of value, we could definitely see how we can remove this. But at any rate, you will see that there is section 1 that could be configured. To configure the section, you could just tap on it. You could just add a sample title. And if you wanted to apply any type of what is called here wrappers, but if you wanted to change the headings, you could do that here. Additionally, you could change the position of this and also the color. So there are 3 different color options, black, slate, and blue. So if you wanted to use those color options for your titles of your sections, feel free to do so. And if I wanted to show the title, I just want to make sure that I just select everything here that is appropriate with accessibility. This will be a header 2, and I'm going to update this little particular piece of content, and you will notice that the block itself is now displaying the name that I have assigned to this little section right here. Okay. Now, if I wanted to add a block to an existing section, all I do is I tap, click, or select this block section. Now, if I wanted to add the open embed like we did on that other page, I can add, let us just call this one training video. And I have the option to display the title of the block or not. We're going to go over here and steal this little iframe from YouTube like we did on the other page. And in the body right here, I am just going to paste. And you could paste with a Control V. You could use your keyword. However it works for you on your setup, you could just copy the iframe from one source and just paste it here. Okay. At the bottom, I could give it a color, but this is a video. I would not add a color, but these are the options that you have for styling this particular block. To keep it very simple, I'm just going to save the block, and the block is going to display right here. If I wanted to add more content, I could just go here and add another section. Let us just try to add another section. For another section that I'm going to add, I could then decide how many columns we're going to have to display the content. This is similar to the distribution that we spoke about when we did rows and cards, right? If I select 3, it will give me 33, 33, and 34. If I select 2, it will be straight up, 50-50. You could play with these. It has a little drop down that will allow you how to have a 1/3, 2/3. It's just percentages now. So it is the same concept, just different displays right here. So if I do this 33 and 67, the one block that is going to be on my left-hand side is going to be the thinner one. And then at the right side, I'm going to have a little bit more of a 2/3 distribution. Again, let's do another title or another section. If I wanted to, and I think we should, this will be best practice just to go ahead and add the wrapper. For this one, I'm just going to change the position, and I'm going to change the color so that you could see this. I hadn't done this in previous sessions, so I thought it would be of value today. So just a few differences. You will see down here that I have another section, and I need to double check it didn't stick for the color. So Barry, if you're still on the call, I need to make a note of this. It didn't stick the color here. It's still black. So I have to look into that. Now, when we are adding content here, let us say that I want to reference a menu that I may have. This little field here will allow me to search for different blocks that I already have. So I'm going to click on this main navigation, and I'm just going to keep it simple. I could add a background to it. And I'm just going to hit save. And now that menu is going to be referenced here. Additionally, if I wanted to add another piece of content, I could do something. We already did a menu. We did a basic on the other side. Let's go ahead and let's do a simple map. And then, yes, let's do a simple map. I can add a description at the top. And then I will just enter the address. And this is our actual address. So if you are ever in town, just come and say hi. And your Google Map card will display. And if it is on mobile, the people that are needing to access this particular address could just have their navigation left turn to right turn and get to the venue. You could leverage this just like you did in rows and cards. It is exactly the same format of your map card. And again, you can zoom out, zoom in as needed. And that is basically my layout. Once I save my layout, again, it is in a draft state because we're still iterating. But if you wanted to see how the page will display when it is published, it would just not have that pink background, if that makes any sense. Now, if you notice in the URL, because the title is, I'm sorry, let me admit one more participant. Thank you so much. Because the title, because I chose to allow the system to generate the URL automatically, it is pulling the data from what I populated in the title field. So that's why your URL, you will see the node when I am in edit mode. That is the node ID, right? But when I am viewing the actual page, it will revert back to that particular URL. Alrighty, I think we're doing good on time. Yes, it's 10:34, and we got through the things that we wanted to go through. I want to open it up for questions. Do you have anything? I see there is one chat. Let me go in there and see what the question is. There is a question from Kellen. That is one button that I am not able to change the color. It is showing green, and I would like to change it to blue. Can you show it? Can you show it how to change the button color? Yes. So thank you so much, Danielle, for answering the question. There is a page that we created, and this is something that I'm going to make available to everybody. But when we had our old website on demo.colorado.gov, we still have the colors displayed here. So when you are looking down here, these are the different, this is what the styles would look like. And success is, green is just my favorite color, so I just go for green. But success is the color. And I'm going to be creating a training resource that is specific to the buttons, because now that our developers have created a special module for buttons, we want to make sure that people are empowered to leverage this. So yes, this is coming very soon. But these are what the colors would look like. Danielle did respond. The comment from Danielle is that the success is the green color. And I know info is blue steel. The different styles have different colors associated with all of them. There's only a few colors available. And yes, that is true. Thank you so much for that feedback. I would love to have the full range of colors, but I am not sure that is feasible. At the moment, we have this limited color palette, but we can put in a request to see how can we further style those, and if they're going to be, because they have to be accessible in the contrast of color. So I will take that feedback back so that we can add colors to the buttons. Okay, Danielle, so I'm going to create a card for my team to research, and then we will respond back to the team, or I can respond directly to this training session and provide it on the website as well. There is further conversation between Kellen and Danielle. Success is the green color, and she says, thank you. It worked. Okay. Oh my goodness. Let me just see if I can go through. We have another question or a comment. So Kellen is not seeing the option for layouts. Is that correct? Do we still have Kellen on the line, on the call?
Hi, yes.
Are-
Can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can hear you. Good morning. Are you still having issues with not seeing the layout content type?
Yes, see right there on the side of delete. I don't see the layout. I only see view, edit, revisions, and clone.
Okay, and are you, did you go click, tap, or select on content, add a content type, and select the layout content type down here?
Let me see. Let me try it right now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and there was feedback from Danielle that the layout is confusing. There are two different content types. They are both called layouts. What we do have is a content type called layout, but we also have in the media library layouts, which are not content types. These are templates, and that is naming that came from previous versions of Drupal. This layouts in the content media library is not a content type. It is just a label for what we call template.
Can you show me again? Where should I look for the? So I go to content and then I go to where?
Add content
Add content.
on top of on the table, on top of the
Yeah.
display. So you want to click, tap, or select add content for me?
Okay, and then
And
click on layout.
More.
go to
Yeah,
the
it shows there the layout. But what about the pages that I already created? It shouldn't be showing on the pages that I already have created.
So with a content type is when the item is born. So if you have a content type that you created that is a basic page, basic pages, those content types are leveraging rows and cards, like the first page we built together. Now,
Okay.
the layout is a content type that you could leverage to build web pages, right? You could just continue to build pages that are layouts. So the layouts will behave like this, and the basic pages will look a little bit different. Remember the sample basic page that we created together? That is a different, it's a different content type. So it's going to have, does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. So, okay, it does make sense for me now. I thought that the basic pages would have the button layout for us to kind of move things around, which is so much easier.
Yes, at this moment, so we do not have those other layout content types. Right now, we just have the basic layout content type, and future state of Drupal will look different from what we have right now, but this had to come in with rows and cards with that structure. And
Got it.
yes, because when we upgraded, there wasn't a way to mechanically or automatically move the content over. So what we did is we just reformatted rows and cards to fit Drupal 10. So
Mhm.
it's coming over. All right.
Thank you,
Oh,
Cecilia. I appreciate
no,
that.
my pleasure. Alrighty. So we did cover that we do not actually have two content types called layouts. We have a layouts library that holds all of your templates, and then we do have a content type called layouts. So I know the labeling is very confusing. Our team is exploring how changing those labels, if it will break any dependency. But at the moment, that is a navigation piece that is very complicated, and I do understand that. Now there is a comment here from Anna, and I think it's on the Drupal 10 training and support page. Could you please include a description with the videos about what the training covers? This will help some of our newer users navigate which training they might want to review. I think that is a really good idea, Anna. And I had another person ask me this, but the thing is that these are so dynamic and it's open to questions. Let me see if I could go through and kind of take the main takeaways and what nuances were discussed in those meetings, and I will update that for you. Layout editing, there's further conversation from Kellen and Danielle here. The layout naming convention is still very confusing. And if it, yes, we just addressed that piece. You could turn a basic page into a layout node, unfortunately. Yes, that is correct because they're two different structures. There's a comment from Danielle. I think that there should be a way to turn a basic page into a cards node, into a layout node. That is that will be perfect, but that is not how things are working at the moment, being that paragraphs are different from our sections and blocks. But again, yes, Anna, anytime. Do we have any additional questions from the conversation that we see in the chat? Are there any additional items you would like for us to demo? Anything that you have? This is your session. Oof, you guys are extremely quiet. Yes, Danielle, good morning. Go ahead.
Hi, Cecilia. I have a question about alt text in media. So I have a image in my media library, and I want to mark it as decorative so that screen readers will just ignore it completely. I currently don't have the ability to do so because I tried to do that by using the typical convention of putting double quotation marks in the alt text field. However, because of the way that the Drupal backend is programmed, those quotation marks are already incorporated into the text programming there. So like, and because that is a required field, I do have to put something there. So if I were to put like double quotation marks in there, because like if you type the quotation marks twice, normally a screen reader will just disregard that. But because this is basically putting this text that you put in this alternative text field of this form into quotation marks in the code, you end up with 4 quotation marks. So I feel like there should be some kind of a radio button or something associated with this field that can like mark it as decorative so that you would be able to leave that field blank. And then that would indicate to a screen reader that this image does not have to be addressed and it doesn't have to have otherwise, I have to include some kind of alt text, even if my goal is to just have the end user of the screen reader just completely disregard it because it's really not meaningful to a screen reader user.
Totally. So we have an alternative to that, and it's when you're embedding the image at the page level, because that function is present in the CK editor for when you're not referencing the media library item. It is available when you're using the actual image where you're retrieving the item from your device. Now, there's 2 things. I'm going to put in a request with our developers to research and see if that is something that could be added into the media library, this screen that I am in, so that it could be present here to, if you have a decorative item, to indicate decorative item on a toggle. However, we need to see if that is going to be present for all of the uses of this image on your multi-site, on your database, right? So it's going to take us some research to see what dependencies this would break, and we toggle here as opposed to toggling at the place where you're referencing the image. However, to circle back, we do have the ability to insert the image onto the WYSIWYG and just indicate it is a decorative item. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click tap or select on the content, and I'm going to go back to that page that we created together, and I'm going to edit. And from here, here is that image feature that I was referring to, and I'm going to insert an image. I need to get new images because I've used all of these images already. Let us see if I do CMS, website images. Let's use this one. I think I used that one. Maybe this one. When I am inserting this, I have the ability to toggle here, and it will indicate decorative item, and I can manipulate the image further. But it will give me that little warning that it is missing the alternative text. But at this point, we do know we have indicated that this is a decorative item. So if I toggle here and save, it will skip it. So the system would know not to look for the alternative text as you are referring. Now, when I scroll down to the bottom and I save, the image will save.
But will it
This
be added to your media library though?
No,
Because
and that's what I am trying to offer, Danielle, that I get the feedback. We're gonna work on it. We're gonna sprint this out, do the research, see how we can add it to CK Editor 5 as an option, or if we could, what are the dependencies of making that change to the media library? Because if we're gonna have, so basically we just need to map out what are the impacts of this, because we're making sure that the items in the media library have the alternative text to prevent people from being out of compliance. But this is feedback that we're gonna just like we do with everything. We're just gonna break it down into, just decompose the different pieces of it, add the research, see if there's a fix that we could implement, and we will roll it out with our development cycle. But for the moment, if you have something that needs to skip, my compromise, my offer is to pull the image from your device and then indicate that it is a decorative item until we have a solution for the media library as it displays either a toggle from decorative item or something that does require the alternative text.
well, I'm trying to avoid using images in the way that you just showed
Oh,
because
totally.
I like to be able to look at every image on my website in the media library.
Yeah.
So if there's just something hanging out that's not in that media library, I have no way of really being able to track it in aggregate to see at a glance all of the images that are on my site if I wanted to review them all for color contrast or alt text or whatever. So that's why I've kind of been avoiding doing this exact thing you've been showing. So yeah, I guess to me the workaround for now is just put some kind of brief alt text there that isn't terribly obtrusive. So, but I do see what you're saying. But I do think that it's something that probably should be looked at. So, and it sounds like you are. So thanks.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for that, Danielle. Do we have additional questions or additional feedback? Anything else that you would like me to demo? All right, that was a pregnant pause. So what I'm going to invite you to do, to those of you who I see week in, week out, every other week, if you have things that you want for me to discuss deeper, do a deeper dive into specific topics, please shoot me an email at partner support. That way I could either schedule a one-on-one with you, or if it is something that could bring value to the larger group, like a conversation about nodes and redirects, I'm happy to entertain that here. And even complexities about decorative items versus alternative text, like what Danielle just brought up, I think those are very valuable because it will allow me to continue to blossom the platform into the tool that we need it to be. I do not have anything else for the team or for the group. Barry's on the call. Barry, is there anything that I'm missing? Anything that you want to add?
Not at this time. No.
Awesome. I see, well, everybody is here. Sonia, there's Francie, there's our edit people, there's Miguel. If there is anything that you have for me, do let me know. Shoot us an email at partnersupport@www.colorado.gov. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your week and know that I'm a resource to you. So anything that I could do for you, just say the word and I will be there.
Thanks, Cecilia.
Anytime. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Bye, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.